Hey folks, it is Wednesday, June 8th. The time is 1:22 p.m. and the temperature right now is around 19 degrees Celsius. I'm here in Midtown Toronto, standing right next to what was voted to be the second worst road in the city of Toronto, and that is Eglinton Avenue East. And for this one, I'll be hopping on the e-bike there and going for a ride to the west of here, and just on the other side of Yonge Street, off in the distance there, is what was recently voted the worst road in the city of Toronto, and that is Eglinton Avenue West. So I think this ride will be about 9 kilometers or so. All right, let's hop on the bike and get going. So this is west on Eglinton Avenue East from Holly Street. And conveniently, the start of this one is right around the corner from where I live, so I didn't have to ride very far to get here. This is the Yonge Eglinton neighborhood. And a few days ago, the CAA, which is the Canadian Automobile Association, released the results of their annual survey of the worst roads in Ontario. And this year, Eglinton Avenue West was actually deemed to be the second worst road, according to voters. And they're voting based on congestion, potholes, construction, traffic signal times, and that sort of thing. And the worst road is in the city of Hamilton, and that was Barton Street. Although I'm willing to bet Eglinton here gives it a run for its money. And previously, Eglinton Avenue East, where I am now, was the worst road in the province, or at least in the city. I don't think it got the #1 spot. So this is Yonge Street, and now we are on Eglinton Avenue West. So this stretches across the entire western half of Toronto, although I'm only going to go as far as Jane Street, I think. But I will be riding along the entire western half of the Eglinton Crosstown LRT, which is probably the reason why Eglinton was voted as such a bad road. And you can see the construction work beside me for it. Is Eglinton Station is on the left, and that is soon to be a major interchange of 2 lines, the Line 1 subway and what will be underground for most of the western stretch. That's the Eglinton LRT. And believe it or not, tunneling for this started back in 2011. And here we are in 2022. There's still seemingly no end in sight. The line was originally to have opened by now. And all signs are pointing towards next year. And you can see here they've got bike lanes roughed in. Although I couldn't really get a clear story as to what the bike lanes are going to look like once all the dust settles and the LRT is open. Word on the street is that on the eastern part of the line, at least, so on Eglinton Avenue East, for the most part, the bike lanes will just be painted on and not separated from traffic. And I think people have been extremely disappointed to learn that. And it's a combination of the City of Toronto and Metrolinx that's responsible for installing them. And this ride will take us past 10 future LRT stops, including Eglinton Station, where I started. And just up ahead is the future home of Avenue Station. And this mess of construction hoarding really didn't go up along most of Eglinton until about 7 years ago. This car turning left next to me. And here's Avenue Road. Future home of the Avenue LRT station, which you can see just there on the right. So most of the stops on the western portion of the line will be underground, and most of the stops on the eastern part will be above ground. Not sure why this white car is holding up. And you can see years of construction has just battered these roads, and I don't think they're planning to resurface them until after the LRT opens. And this is Castleknock Road. But it's all not bad news. I think all the LRT vehicles have been delivered. There's around 76 of them in total. And I think testing along the entirety of the track is well underway. And there's even some sidewalk patios that have popped up on Eglinton. And we are heading into the Forest Hill neighborhood. Although Chaplin Station is coming up. And then at Bathurst will be Forest Hill Station. Metrolinx, the agency overseeing this project, has decided to name each stop after the local community it serves. which is kind of counter to how the rest of the TTC subway stations are named. Did I just get honked at? For what? There's Forest Hill Collegiate on the right. By the truck that doesn't come to a complete stop or use its turn signals. So at the bottom of the strip here is Bathurst Street. And that's where we'll find the future Forest Hill Station. And there's no left or right turns here. They've even got a cop on duty. They also had one at Avenue, but strangely none at Yonge and Eglinton. So the next major stop will be Eglinton West Station, which is being renamed Cedarvale after the surrounding neighborhood. Okay. It should be surprising that I'm the only one out on Eglinton on their bike, even though it is a major east-west node across the city. I wouldn't recommend riding this route to anyone. And this in front of me is the 32 Eglinton West bus. Along Eglinton, a number of businesses have shut down and blamed the construction as the sole cause for that, particularly in neighborhoods like Little Jamaica. And then they had that double whammy of the COVID restrictions put in place. I don't really have enough room to slip alongside this bus here. Maybe on the single speed I would with its narrow handlebars. Not on this thing. No, it is not rush hour. It's just the middle of a weekday afternoon. And coming up, we have a double whammy of congestion causes. There's a lane reduction due to the Cedarvale Station construction, and there's also the southern terminus of the Allen Expressway, or the Allen Road, where it dumps off at Eglinton. And typically at rush hour, that always causes a bit of a traffic mess in this area. It just gets compounded by all the construction. And here is Eglinton West Station straight ahead, soon to be Cedarvale Station. And just on the other side of the station is where the Allen Road dumps off. No, you don't. She wanted to. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a worse major road in any big city in North America than this. I did a ride along Eglinton Avenue East last year, which you can find on the channel. I did that on this bike. And the year before that, I did one on the single speed. Be the 63 Ossington bus. And welcome to Little Jamaica, a neighborhood that's been particularly devastated by this prolonged construction. And if you don't believe me, you can go back on Google Street View and see what a mess this was 6 or 7 years ago. And this is Oakwood. There's Oakwood Station going in. But I can't see any road signs. So you're turning left here and looking for it. How would you even know? There's one tiny sign over there on the southwest corner in front of the Pizza. There's a massive fail for you. And you can see these businesses on the right are open. They're almost completely obscured by the construction hoarding. And it's very unpleasant to walk along there. This is Pothole City. There's a brave cyclist turning left onto Glenholm. But all of this construction and disturbance, at least along the western portion of Eglinton, should really be entirely unnecessary. Back in the early 90s, the Eglinton West subway line was approved. And they actually started building it in 1994. And then in 1995, Ontario did a very unfortunate thing and elected Mike Harris, who came in, and he promptly canceled the subway. He also tried to cancel the Shepherd subway. And Mel Lastman rallied for that. We ended up with half a subway line. So between the two projects, they built by far the least useful one, and they only built half of it. And I think the Eglinton West subway was to go from Eglinton West Station all the way to Renforth, which is pretty much by the Etobicoke-Mississauga border. And there's no doubt that would have been connected up to the airport by now. And we'd probably be looking at an Eglinton Avenue East subway extension rather than what's effectively an underground streetcar, one that doesn't even have transit signal priority. And here is Dufferin. There's an LRT station going in here. Although I think it'll be called Fairbank. There's a Dufferin subway station to the south of here. I think a more appropriate name for this would have been Dufferin North or Dufferin Eglinton. But this intersection has been much worse than this in recent years. It's actually kind of clearing up a bit. And I think there's only 3 stops left: Caledonia, Keelesdale, and then Mount Dennis. And that last stretch does have an elevated portion of the line, and if we're lucky, we'll get to catch some LRT trains being tested. And I think things will at least be less congested from here on. Congested. I think I hit a bump as I was trying to say that. That guy doesn't count as a cyclist. I barely count as one. Although for some reason I have been pedaling this ride. This is certainly not a road to take your e-scooter out on. At least not if you had a really beefy suspension. Those tiny wheels wouldn't be much of a match for these horrendous conditions. And this is Caledonia. So just up ahead is the future Caledonia LRT stop. See those kind of hilarious little T-Rex pedals on that thing in front of me. There's the future Caledonia Station. I've talked a bit about before when I lived in Korea. I lived literally right at Gangnam Station, right at exit 1, which is a far busier subway station than anything we have in this country. And while I was living there, they started construction on a subway line in a very complicated neighborhood to build in, and it only took up one lane of the main street above it, which they blocked off for their various construction equipment, and there was virtually no disruption to traffic or to the businesses. I think we could learn a few things from how they do things over there. And of course they got the line built much quicker. That was line 9. And they've since built another subway line that connects to Gangnam Station. I think that's the Shinbundang line. And I was curious about this. I heard that a bike lane has sprung up along this last stretch of the line, and here it is. So there's Keelesdale Station on the right, and this is Trethewey Drive. Hey, look at this, a bike lane. A properly separated one at that. And it's gone. Well, that was fun. So the last stop coming up is Mount Dennis, and you'll be able to see the tracks elevating out of the street here. So this passes as a bike lane, just a line of paint on a busy road. And I think there's been a lot of concern among cycling communities that that's all Eglinton is going to get. But it really ought to be separated and protected. There's the LRT tracks, and it's not too uncommon that you'll see trains running along here. And most of them are being stored just north of here. And this is Black Creek Drive. I don't think I'm supposed to enter that paved bike lane straight ahead there. Looks like it's all blocked off. We'll just stay on the street. And sadly, just up ahead is Mount Dennis, so that's as far as the LRT will go. So we'll need bus service to go further west along Eglinton, as they will east of Kennedy on the other side of the line. And they'll also need to leave bus service in place, as the stops are far enough that you're not going to be able to entirely replace the bus, especially not for people with disability and other concerns. So I'm just going to keep riding to Jane, and then I think at Jane, a two-way bike path pops up on the south side of Eglinton. And that's as far as we'll get on this ride. So can I go on that bike lane or not? I'm going to assume that construction pylon means no. It's a pretty big terminal station. And it looks like they've already got a lot of artwork up. Ooh. And this is Weston Road. I did a video through Weston last year. There's a guy going the wrong way on Eglinton. And I think that's Jane Street coming up ahead. And hey, look, a bike lane has appeared along this park. Although I really didn't see any way to hop on it. Of course, despite there being a sidewalk on the left, there's someone walking their dog in the lane. That's ridiculous. Like, do you not see the sidewalk? Look at this. We're being directed to cross the street here. And from here on, Eglinton has a proper bike lane for a pretty long stretch. But that is going to do it for this one. I'll just get my camera unhooked here. There we go. I hope you enjoyed this ride along the worst road in Toronto, according to the CAA, at least in 2021, starting just east of Yonge and Eglinton, riding west for about 9 kilometers or so over to Jane and Eglinton. There's people waving at me in that CAA truck. Funny, because it's CAA who did the study. I don't know if they know who I am or they just saw a random nut job with the camera. And I forgot to put my rear-facing camera on. Oops. Anyways, let me know your thoughts and comments down below. I'm interested to hear your opinions on Eglinton. I have an Instagram account at Johnny Strides. If you wish to support the channel, there's links to my YouTube channel membership and Patreon. And you can find those in the description. And there's now a super thanks button appearing below each video. All right, thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.